right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of For the Most Part podcast. If you all understood the antics that just went on before we actually get this recording done, my head hurting, Fernando head hurting, Louise' head was hurting, but she's unfortunately unable to join us on this call. Nonetheless, though, we have, as I said, Mr. Fernando Chillar on the Zoom. Don't mind.
Hi.
Yeah, and now telling the people, now I'm going to tell them, don't mind the setup because obviously we're doing it virtual, but more surprises to come. He will be joining us on one of our live streams, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna talk to him. Yeah, we're gonna talk to him off the air, and figure out what date, what time, all kind of thing. but I think what we've decided, what we wanted to talk about today was getting Fernando's perspective on the Dua Lipa Levitating case, because he was we were talking before we started this particular recording, and he said he listened to the podcast episode with that, and what's really interesting is that I'm concerned about where this court case situation is gonna go. I don't know if you could just kind of break down for the people, because Adriel, Bailey King, and I, when we spoke about it, we broke down some of the basic stuff, some of the musicality, the borrowing the chords and musical tropes that typically belong to some of these groups, right? But in this case, it's kind of different, not so?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, welcome again to the For the Most Part podcast. Welcome, Kevin. Who's gonna join us? But not now. Let's go away. We roll with the punches and we move on.
Yep.
Right. So, a lot of people would have been following that Dua Lipa case, or it's a big case per se. With that song Levitating and how it was similar. Copyright infringement procedures were put against her from two groups. Some of you were talking earlier, as you mentioned before, concerning the Outcast Rosa Parks song.
Yeah.
How it sounded similar to that, but look like they have no problem with it. The main two groups is I think when I checked was the Jamaican song Article song system.
Yeah.
And then another disco group that had a song earlier on a long time in the 80s or somewhat too. So the contestant that look, she stole the song from them, or stole as you break it down further, the lyrics or the melody and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a case that is well, it's in court, or they reach the court, and from there it have different routes it could go down.
Yeah.
Right? But again, they will need to break down the song and the songs that they compared it to. Right, to see if it is reasonable that yes, she did reasonably justified or reasonably proven that she did the song. But there's certain steps towards that too. Right now, all of the song, the chord progression and lyrics and melody and stuff, the melody and pitch, tempo, all them kind of stuff may be close or similar to the other two songs. That is not really what the court will look for. They will look for that aspect of it, because there are normal songs or whatever, is like pitch, tempo the same, and the melody kind of flow, because again it's chords you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And based upon those chords, a certain flow in your melody will form. And it will be close to what that song is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now saying that, right, as you said, it's about three things they had to identify in court in order to say, that she really took this song.
Right.
Right. So one of these things is that is the what I was trying to put it is they had to prove that, for example, it was passed on to her and her team, or her producer, or the producer, whoever it is, produced the song, right?
Yeah.
They had to prove that it was passed on from either Article Song System or the other disco band. I forget the name of the band, but I'll just say this one. So if they could prove that, look, that somebody from one of that band brought this song to Dua's producers or the team or the managers or whatever the record label, and then she recorded it or whatever, then they could say, okay, they have a proper case. Now it could happen that way, and she may not have known that it came from somebody else. These things just happen. Depending on the team or the producer you're working with, they would have gotten something and say, Daisy, I could listen to this now. Or they try and they pitch it to you, but do not knowing that they took it from somebody else or got it from somebody else. Or
right.
So all these things that prove that.
Yeah.
First, one of the things. But if we can prove that, look, that she got it from any one of these, and she took it, and she probably willingly or sometimes even unwillingly used it. The court won't look at that aspect, in that if she willingly or unwillingly, they proven that it was passed on. I won. If we can prove that, then they have I was talking earlier, they have a foot inside. The thing is, if they can prove that as you said, it was widely distributed.
Yeah.
Right? If they can prove that, okay, so Article's song and the other group their song easily accessible all over. It was one of the biggest songs on radio in the 80s or 2000s. So it's real out there. It's still one of the biggest songs when they search it on internet or TV, YouTube, that it there.
Yeah.
It's in your face. That you would have seen it also to grow up, and it's in your face. Once you can prove that. But if it is we go and we see, it's there, but we searching and we say, are you talking on Apple or any other platforms and they're not there? Or even on YouTube.
We have a problem. Then
they say, alright, it's an early day.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing is it had to be so, the third thing is that it had to be so, given all those other two things too, that it had to be so similar. Everything so on point, similar chords, lyrics, you understand, in terms of the same lyrics you would have used, or even said, she took out a different word and put in her next word, that they prove it that this is really so very similar. That
right.
Line up the song, the whole song by song. You understand? Even if it's the goods, and say, she took that, she just changed her word, then you could say, well, they entitled to something or they have a case, or doing the case, that is what the things they could prove. So with that, if they could prove, either all three or one of the three, and depending on the case too,
right.
Then the final thing is, look, what we going to do here? You could say, well, the court will say, okay, well, it was stolen, we prove it is stolen, so you have money to pay, you have money to push out to these people or whoever it is. Understand?
Yeah.
Give them the writing credits or whatever, producing credits or whatever, you have to think that. Or you could go down the route of saying, look, nothing here, challenge is not really worth it, I ain't seen nothing, after only three things that I explained here and proven, short that out of the court, it didn't really match it, so all the cases is all lost.
Yeah.
I mean, they could always come back and appeal after if there's anything, I'm not too sure, but that's a phenomenon, that's American law, American systems, different system, right? So you could either be thrown out, they could uphold the case and say, okay, well, they give them the full stuff, or before it reaches the court too, right? So you could settle out of court, then meet, everybody say, okay, what is the situation here?
Yeah, exactly.
Then you say, okay, because if you go in court, I time, this, that, I busy, I have all this thing to do, I have time for court work, whatever. Then we work out something, we say, okay, I'm bringing into the royalties part of it, ownership part, whatever, we work out their agreements, and they pay to sue with that. They settle out of court.
Which is kind of like, well, we can't say for sure, but with the Anselm Douglas situation, I would like to assume that it was a similar setup. Well, we all know Who Let the Dogs Out, Bahaman, and it was a whole thing. And we would have covered this briefly in one of our sampling episodes. But what we never discussed was the nitty-gritty, what would have probably happened, and that's probably because the case itself, the contents of it, nobody really knows what happened.
Nobody really know. I have Anselm Douglas and really talk about it, right, publicly, about the while the case was going on, but after the case was stopped, so in that case it could have been as I say, my personal opinion, I feel he would have settled and would have gotten some money and collect royalties on it. You know, but his idea is it that he's just collecting a percentage and still collecting a percentage of royalties for future use of the song, or he might have just said, okay, give me a full payout and give up all his rights, that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, so we don't know. We don't know what is the thing with it. You know, some artists might decide to say, or a smart artist or producers or whoever, songwriters might say, look, retain some ownership part of it, you know, and a percentage of royalties, so that for, depending on how big the song is, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, they want to use it in a movie or some kind of thing, or a remix or some kind of thing, you know.
Right.
You could say, yeah, you still have money to make from it. You know, when they pay that money, you're still getting some money from it. Or next artist might say, look, I don't want to back that thing, I give up on my rights state, sign it off, the contract or whatever that you do, the agreement, and sign it off and take a big payment or lump sum payment, whatever it is that they all agree to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So again, the business is about contracts and agreements, and depending on what you want to give up your rights, full rights, or retain some rights.
But not only that, I would also assume that you, as we would have discussed, I think before, is knowing where your song comes from, especially if you're going through the route of one of two things. You do a demo to give to an artist to do, or you receive a demo to right. So again, guys, that's part of it. You have to understand the music business, as Fernando say. There are so many different aspects that play such a critical role in how your career going and look for the rest of the world.
And as we touch on the demo, you see again, and a lot of artists out here, also to our songwriters, put their ideas down in art format. Yeah. Right? They do the demo, right? Or they may not even do a demo. Sometimes the song written on a sheet and they send it forward to a producer and an artist, right? And they leave it just like that, without saying, look, if you see the song, you meet with the artist and you like the song, okay, you have 6 months, you know, to get back to me, right? A contract actually that's saying, look, if you like the song and you so want it, because you carry it as a producer, you carry it as an artist, and you're like, dear boy, I like the vibes like this, you know, and they say, yeah, I want to work with that. And you could tell them, okay, well, within 6 months, you can get back to me, this goes out to somebody else, to chop around. A lot of artists putting out, songwriters or producers putting out the beats, putting out their songs and lyrics or whatever, and leaving it there. Without a contract stating that, look, okay, if you don't want it, then I can't shuffle it around to anyone else. Because if you come and show me interest and look, boy, I like this song I write here, boy, or I like this beat and this song, the lyrics you put in the demo, and you say, I want to work with that. Yeah. Then you have a right as a songwriter, the producer who carried it to the artist or whatever, and say, look, no problem, within 3-4 months, let it get back to me, a simple contract. I leave this with you within that time to do whatever production need and what we need to do to work on, and after that, it goes to Swan. It goes back up. You know, and I put up a disclaimer stating that if anything that you end up with a production with our next person, our next company, whatever, that is use the song, you know, like same lyrics and same beat and everything,
right?
Then you have all rights to sue or to bring an infringement proceedings against them, that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know? So there's a lot of things that's happening out there. You know, with young producers especially and young songwriters, and just leave it. And then they hear, song out there, and you know, people listen to me, they know my song.
Yeah, so okay, so what advice would you give in this instance? I know we always talk about contracts and that kind of thing. But but let's just say you have contracts and stuff set up, and you have the case of Anselm Douglas, where we would assume there was some level of copying that was done. We don't know if it was copied or if that was a demo that he gave to them, or whatever the case may be. But let's assume that was a copy that these producers did. What's the next step?
Well, the next step is you as the artist have to go forward with your proceedings, copyright proceedings, legal proceedings. especially if it is you know that look, wait now, this song is very much what I submitted to the person.
The money. Pass.
Yeah, you had to go towards that. You could bring up a case against them.
Yeah.
To look. And then what would have happened? You see, again, it goes back where artists, songwriters, producers have to keep proper records of who they submitted the things to, when, you understand, that kind of vibes. We lack that in our industry, especially for a number of upcoming artists and songwriters and producers.
Yeah.
Maybe even some of the big prominent ones. They may not say it like that because our industry is based on, yes, networking, but it's vibes. I know you, everything cool, whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of the older artists or big artists will also tell you that, look, they have their business model in such a way everything is written, everything is tracked. It's contract. It's about education too, as I always say. A number of artists have to educate themselves about the business. About it, look, there's a way to go about doing these things. There's a structure in the business. Again, if you have a song, with our contract, you could give the artist or the thing to sign and say, look, so this is the case. I have one extra copy from cut, right? Exclusive songwriter producer contract.
Yeah.
So this is, I see again, is our next thing down here too, in that a lot of we don't have a lot of provisions or info access for local contracts for our business. So a number of the things we use is from outside. Right? And it don't fit into our perspective, our jurisdiction.
Situation. Yeah.
And sad to say that is what is available to us, to our local people. Right?
Exactly.
So we had to know how to operate. They had to know education one, reach out to someone, right? Others in the business who will know more better, or maybe to say, look, I can take you only here, but talk to this person, and this person will be able. You might think that you need that Cala Paris. The other guys also, like, my boy, his name is always popping up on those, once in a while, contact. But have other people, if you get in contact with and say, look, you will take guide and say, look, do that yet, do this, do that, and then go forward. And you see what happens when you start to put yourself in some of a structure, right? There's another lining up or lining with others in the business who have structure and they want to work with, because they realize that, look, your structure is similar to theirs. When you come to business, it's business. Yes, we in studio and we record, but when you come to business, here is song sheets, splits, everything organized. Or his manager or his thing will come talk and everybody meet and meet, This thing is such a thing in that.
I would say to answer to what you were gonna say, in Trinidad, it's very easy for us to get ripped off by each other if we don't have our ducks in a row.
And it may not be sometimes in terms of the intent is to rip off, but exactly. The vibe is, and when things happen now, it's like, guys, but you ain't tell me, or do you this game record this, and people
exactly.
Has a flow.
Exactly.
And
the vibe does dictate the professional content.
The professionalism, it is be like, nah, we good, we cool thing.
Yeah.
And then when fame hit and money hit, everybody, like, that way enemy come. But once you have it put down beforehand, then it's much easier to work with. So education in the business and education about knowing how to structure the business, to know your rules in the industry, right? Because there are a number of people who want to do everything in the industry, but they just can't do everything. A very few who could do, but there are some who just look, if your role is to be a music producer, then be a music producer. Then what are you as a music producer? An executive producer or creative producer? Right?
That's
are you just building beats, or are you financing? Are you just going to be supposed to say, okay, if they come to you, artists come to you, you finance the project.
And that's the thing, we need to understand the rules. And this is something that that Advocate has said many times, especially on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know what things like producer and executive producer and the beat maker and they don't. You don't know. You don't. I'm saying you, as in the people who sometimes click like on this video and watch. I can promise you that at least 10 and 20 of you cannot tell me what a producer actually is.
Yeah. And that is our next rule in itself. music producer, music
Audio
production.
engineer. People think that the
Right.
producer and the audio engineer is the same, and that's not
Same
the
thing,
case.
no.
In Trinidad, we have that mixed up. Especially in Trinidad, we have that mixed up.
But you see, again, that's relative to our industry because with the advent of technology, right? You have a door on your fingertips. So you become producer, creative producer, and executive producer. He's the engineer, everything in one.
Exactly.
Exactly. Because of how we are in the Caribbean, that kind of vibe. But when you realize outside there how music producers are, it's totally different. You get to know creative or executive. You get to know what is it a
post-production,
post-production, pre-production? Is it, what about organizing your time?
Demo engineers that have all sorts of rules.
So it's a whole heap of thing. The music production side is one aspect of it. A lot of these places come on the music production, the music producer courses of production is beat maker courses. You're a creative producer, you're teaching how to use that door. But when you go out there and reach the business aspect, they don't know. I will give you my personal example. And a number of people right now, when I did my course as music producer, to go and do a music production course, I thought that was it, right? So I did it beats. You're like, good as a music producer, I just have to go and, hey, hold on now, I shall sell that. Listen to that, and that is it. And you will be like, yeah, it's nice, or whoever, and that is it. Not like that.
Yeah.
So again, in the business on the whole, whether it's Dua Lipa or whoever it is about education, contracts and that kind of stuff. Education and contracts and just having that business savvy, and then people who can handle on the team who can handle research and all. Because for example, I look at probably I'm not saying, probably somebody passed on the song article, probably passed on the song, or somebody in the group heard the song from a song system or whatever, and they tell her nothing. But it's like, you have an idea for a song, thing, and they come up with like they do it over themselves. They didn't let her listen to the original article song system or the original disco song that contested. But they did their own thing and say, and she's like, wow, this is a really good thing. And they, so trusted individuals too is research too to say, that there are people who could say, check in and say, again, we don't know the dynamics of what happened within the team, whatever it is of that production, right? So, and it could just be like, just click with the beat, or the beat was, and that is what happened, that is what happened, Probably while you're doing the beat and singing it, somebody might have said, hey, you find the song in like similar to their own, and then they might listen and say, like, look, not really, look, this is different, that different song, so it's the same one, and this is the let's go. So, that is it, that is how it is for me. As you mentioned, they said that Outcast, they probably again, when it was in the production stage of Levitating, realized that wait, now this song like the beginning of Rosa Parks, Outcast song.
Right.
And it's like,
and then they probably let's give them credit for it.
Let's be safe, right? Let's call them, say, hey, you're doing this production, this or that. Listen to how it is, and then like, look, we don't want to interfere with all the same thing is so credits or thing letting you all know. So and Outcast like, yeah, man, no, it's not our thing, and they agree. And I said, so they probably thought, okay, that was the only song they would have interfered with or would have sung similar to, not knowing that would have been the other two. So, that is the dynamics of this. Songs, there are a number of songs, and songs will always come about songing similar to something 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. It's so much they could work with and use, and so much money in the pocket to head that will flow on those words. So, but I don't think that is the aspect that the court will look for, is the lyrics wise and all those kind of stuff. They study the lyrics, how close it is to what it was before and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's it basically with that Dua Lipa case, and I say people go down the route of throw it out, but they say, look, well, let's settle out of court. They decide to settle out of court before you support, or when you support, you lose the case and try to pay monies or whatever, and credits and that kind of stuff. So that's the three ways I see it going on. But there are three things that I need to prove once.
Yeah.
I think we should
Yeah. Well, I think we have. I want to save bits and pieces of this conversation again
Yeah.
for when we do live stream. Obviously Fernando will be in house and will be getting into it, because I would love to hear a few different perspectives. You coming from the copyright side, and then Adriel coming from the music side, because it's it's such a deep rabbit hole, as I always say. It is a rabbit hole. It is a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Fernando, tell the people where they can find you. And I think we were up there today, guys. This was a good discussion. I always like when I talk to Fernando. Go ahead, Fernando.
Yeah, guys, you could find me. You could call me at 363-8204. Call or WhatsApp any artist, anybody, songwriter, whatever. I'll try to give you as much information as best as possible. 363-8204. You can message me on Facebook under Levels Up Music Business, and on Instagram also too. Levels Up Music Business. I mean, it's been kind of slow these days, but that's not a problem. If once somebody reach out to me, I'll be able to tell you as best as possible where to go. Or what if I could admit it here? If I can't, I'll say, look, you need to talk to XYZ. I could point you to who you could talk to.
The right direction.
For
nice. Nice.
But yeah, no problem, man. There's no problem.
All right. So, ladies and gents, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you, Fernando, for really breaking down. And I mean, Fernando is the Bible on copyright,
Yeah, I went to the Bible, but to know enough information to say, look, that sometimes I may need to say, other people let miss, other people would think that they think they have, or think they know that they need to get straightened out.
Exactly.
But the thing about it, copyright also too is such a, we again, our law different to the American, right? And it's such a, it's broad, but there are one or two things that on our end too that still need ironing out on our end when it comes to copyright also too, and there are things that are very clear. Fabian Alfonso,
that's the man. Yeah, Fabian is a legend. Yeah.
I usually link up with Fabian and if especially on cut side, Enrico, so, but yeah, it's not hard.
Awesome. Ladies and gents, as I said, that's it for this week's episode. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Fernando, thanks again. And we'll be looking forward to that live stream thing, because we're going to be interacting and taking live questions from the viewers. So you all stay tuned for that. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we will see you all, and we will hear you all on the next episode. Peace out, guys.
Peace out. Bye-bye. Be safe.